Hello, I'm Helen, a soon-to-be mother who is currently 9 months into her pregnancy and eagerly anticipating the arrival of her first child. This time is filled with a mix of excitement and nervousness for her. Despite the joy of welcoming a new life, she finds herself often overwhelmed with the daily responsibilities of managing her household alone. Her husband, Samuel, works an office-based job and is off on weekends, but he spends most of this time at his parents' nearby home, maintaining a close relationship with his in-laws. This leaves Helen to handle household chores and errands by herself. Every morning begins early for Helen as she prepares breakfast for Samuel before he heads to work. After seeing him off, her day continues with cleaning, laundry, and shopping for necessities. Despite being cautious about not lifting heavy objects due to her pregnancy, Helen often ends up managing on her own or with occasional help from understanding friends. Once home, she prepares dinner, and only then can she relax and indulge in her new hobby of blogging. She enjoys capturing moments of her day, from meals to the beauty of nature around her, and sharing them online where friends leave encouraging comments. One evening, as Helen was wrapping up dinner preparations, Samuel came home and carelessly left his belongings on the sofa. After tidying up after him, Helen announced dinner and excused herself to take a bath, her tone reflecting her fatigue and frustration. Their marriage, now 4 years old, had gradually lost its warmth and mutual consideration. That night, a small conflict escalated when Samuel, unable to find brew in the house, demanded that Helen, despite her advanced pregnancy, go to the store. Her refusal sparked a heated argument, with Samuel insisting that staying active was important and dismissing her discomfort. Frustrated yet resigned, Helen considered going herself to avoid further conflict, reflecting sadly on the state of their relationship and wondering if this was what marriage was supposed to be like. Upon arriving at the store, I unexpectedly ran into Amber, my neighbor. "Oh, Amber, good evening," I greeted her warmly. "Good evening, Helen. Did you forget to buy something too?" she asked with a smile, mentioning she had run out of gravy. Amber's cheerful demeanor briefly lifted my spirits. "My husband insisted on having brew, and he sent me out to get it," I explained, puzzled. "Why couldn't he just get it himself?" Amber echoed my sentiments, recognizing the strain it put on me. We walked together for a while before parting ways at a crossroads. When I returned home, I found Samuel sprawled on the sofa, engrossed in the TV with the dinner dishes still untouched. "Why did it take you so long? What were you dawdling around for?" he grumbled impatiently. His demanding tone pierced through me as I handed him the brew silently and began cleaning up. I was deeply hurt by his lack of consideration, especially during my pregnancy. I wanted to confront him but decided against it, fearing another loud argument. After my solitary dinner, I took a soothing bath and retreated to our bedroom. The next morning, Samuel acted like the previous evening's incident hadn't occurred. "Why are you making that face so early in the morning? Don't take it out on me. I'm off to work now, so try to be a bit considerate. You know the importance of appreciation," he said casually as he left. His words ignited a desire in me to retort, but I was too stunned to speak and could only sigh deeply as I saw him off with a curt, "Be careful, I won't be making dinner tonight." Later that day, I went about my usual chores and prepared a simple meal just for myself since Samuel had mentioned he wouldn't be home for dinner. However, as I was about to eat, Samuel unexpectedly returned. "I'm back. Thanks for your hard work," he said, only to add, "But you said you didn't need dinner today, right?" "Yeah, but my drinking party got canceled. I'm hungry. You have something to eat, right?" His mood shifted when he realized I had prepared food only for myself. "Didn't you even consider that I might come back? This is unbelievable," he exclaimed, frustrated. Upon seeing the simple meal I had set for myself, his irritation grew. "What do you call this? A meal? I seriously question if you're fulfilling your duties as a housewife. "Don't waste the money I work for," he scolded. I tried to calm the situation by explaining, "I quickly prepared something for myself. Please don't get upset. Maybe you should learn proper cooking from my mom," he continued, comparing my culinary skills unfavorably to his mother's. His constant comparisons to his mother were deeply wounding, leaving me to reflect on how such remarks could chip away at our relationship. "I can't eat this. Go buy something else," Samuel's harsh words echoed in the kitchen, causing my heart to sink even deeper. It was late. I had already bathed and was settling in for the evening. "Can't you get it yourself?" I countered, frustrated by his unreasonable demands. But Samuel was already on his way out, fuming over the missed dinner and yesterday's forgotten brew. "It's so frustrating. I'm going back to my parents' place," he announced before storming out, leaving me alone in the quiet of our home. Strangely, his departure brought a wave of relief over me. However, this brief respite was interrupted the next morning by an angry call from Samuel's mother. "How can you not serve Samuel a proper meal? This feels like moral harassment, if not worse," she accused. I tried to explain the situation, but she was unreceptive, forcing me to apologize and end the conversation abruptly, which plunged me into a deeper gloom. With Samuel not home, I treated myself to a leisurely late brunch, trying to shake off the morning's unpleasantness. Yet the thought of him returning that evening loomed over me. Determined to smooth things over, I decided to make an extra effort for dinner. I shopped carefully, selecting fine ingredients and even adding Samuel's favorite brew to the cart, hoping to prepare a meal that would win back his approval. I cut short my usual time for blogging to focus on cooking. Hours later, the table was set impeccably, as if for a special occasion. Admiring the arrangement, I felt a surge of pride and anticipation. With this, he should be satisfied, I thought to myself. I waited in the dining room, but as time ticked by, there was no sign of Samuel. Concern grew within me as I tried calling him several times without a response. As the hours passed, anxiety turned to panic. Had he gone to his parents' house? A quick call confirmed he hadn't. The clock neared midnight, and just as I considered contacting the police, Samuel staggered through the door, visibly drunk. "I'm home," he slurred, collapsing in the hallway. I rushed to his side, worried. "What happened? Are you okay?" I asked, but my concern only seemed to irritate him further. "Too loud, go away," he snapped, brushing off my attempt to help him as he stumbled towards the dining room. "Don't touch me! Don't come near me with that ugly face," he barked, his words laced with venom before he collapsed onto the floor. His harsh, drunken tirade was shockingly painful. How could he be so insensitive, so cruel? His words echoed in my mind. "To think you're my wife." Tears welled up as I realized all my efforts at dinner had been for naught. Alone, I ate the meal I had lovingly prepared, enveloped in loneliness. The next morning, Samuel seemed oblivious to the havoc he had wrought. Nursing a hangover, he merely complained, "My head hurts. I guess I drank too much." His casual dismissal of last night's ordeal left me feeling invisible, my efforts unacknowledged and my heart heavy. "Why did you leave me in the hallway?" Samuel questioned the next morning, his tone tinged with accusation. "You chose to lie down there, Samuel. It's not my fault," I responded, trying to keep my voice calm despite the frustration bubbling inside me. "Aren't you my husband? Shouldn't you at least let me know if you won't be eating at home? I had prepared a special dinner and called you multiple times. Why didn't you answer?" Samuel's reply was dismissive. "My drinking party from the day before got rescheduled to yesterday. Do I have to report everything? Besides, you know it's hard to pick up the phone during a gathering. Think about my situation." With each word Samuel uttered, my heart grew colder and my expectations of him diminished. I decided then that it was better to expect less, to protect myself from being hurt or disappointed. "This is too much. I'm taking a break and going back to my parents' home tomorrow." Being with you lately has been unpleasant and draining, I declared, the idea of a temporary separation feeling increasingly like a necessity. Samuel's demeaning attitude pushed me to contemplate more permanent solutions like divorce. Despite the turmoil, my heart raced with anticipation for the arrival of our baby. Friends had shared stories of the pains of labor, yet my excitement to meet the new life inside me overshadowed those fears. The neighbors often encouraged me, brightening my mood with reminders that it wouldn't be much longer. Unexpectedly, Samuel brought up the idea of a family trip. "Hey, want to go on a family trip soon?" he asked out of the blue. "Really? But I'm talking about a family trip where my mom and dad want to join too," he added, which took me aback. Given the tensions between me and Samuel's parents and the way they had blamed me during the phone call incident, the proposal seemed odd. "I'm about to give birth soon, and traveling a long distance might be risky," I objected. Samuel brushed off my concerns. "Just because you're pregnant doesn't mean you're sick. My parents are thoughtfully inviting us. Everything will be fine. It's already decided. We'll go for 3 nights and 4 days next week." "But next week is my due date. That's a bit," I started, only to be cut off. "Just do as you're told. Prepare for the trip. End of discussion," Samuel concluded, leaving the room abruptly, leaving me troubled and anxious. The next day, I sought advice from a close friend and explained the situation. She agreed that the plan was unreasonable. As the day of the trip loomed closer, I became increasingly uneasy. "Actually, I'm not feeling well today. I'm worried about the baby, so I'm going to rest at home," I said on the morning of the trip, hoping to use my condition as a reason to stay. Samuel was skeptical. "You can just rest in the car and you'll be fine. Come on, bring your luggage. We're heading to my parents' house, so hurry up." As we headed to the car, loaded with luggage, I sat in the passenger seat, my anxiety peaking. Glancing down, I felt a surprising warmth at my feet, a stark contrast to the chill of the situation. As I settled into the passenger seat, I suddenly felt an unexpected warmth at my feet and noticed water spreading around them. "Oh my, I think my water just broke," I exclaimed, panic rising within me. "Samuel, we need to go to the hospital quickly," I urged, urgency clear in my voice. Taken aback, Samuel stuttered, "Are you serious?" "Yes, I'm serious. We need to get to the hospital now. The baby might be coming." While trying to manage the situation, Samuel haphazardly grabbed a towel to clean up the water. In a sudden and shocking move, he opened the passenger door. "Samuel, what are you doing? We need to go to the hospital." "Get out. You're going to make a mess in the car," he said bluntly. Completely shocked, I could barely comprehend his words. "What are you saying?" "I said get out. I need to clean the car," he insisted, then forcefully pulled me out of the car. In this unbelievable moment, Samuel added insult to injury. "I can't believe this. We were supposed to be on a family trip. Just go to the hospital by yourself." Too shocked to formulate a response, I watched helplessly as he drove away, leaving me stranded and overwhelmed. Frantically, I dialed for an ambulance, but before it could arrive, a familiar voice called out, "Helen, are you okay?" It was Amber, my neighbor, looking deeply concerned. Quickly recognizing my predicament, she arranged for a special taxi and comforted me throughout the ride to the hospital. Grateful for her kindness, tears streamed down my face. Once at the hospital, Amber didn't leave my side until I was safely taken to my room. As labor pains grew, she held my hand, offering reassurance. In the meantime, she contacted my parents, who arrived at the hospital soon after, looking deeply concerned. "There's something I want to discuss," Amber whispered to them, and the 3 left the room as my contractions intensified. During this tumultuous time, my smartphone vibrated. "Who is it?" I asked, breathless from the pain. "It's Samuel," my parents responded, their faces marked with displeasure. Despite everything, I answered the call only to hear a panicky Samuel on the other end. "Help me," he pleaded. However, I was in no state or mood to deal with him and promptly ended the call. My parents, seeing my distress, turned off my phone to give me peace. After enduring intense labor, I finally heard the cry of my newborn. Exhausted yet relieved, I saw my parents and Amber standing before me with warm smiles. As I closed my eyes to rest, the support of my loved ones enveloped me. When I awoke, still in the hospital bed, and surrounded by my caring parents, my mother gently asked, "Are you okay?" Feeling the weight of exhaustion, I remained lying down, comforted by their presence. My father, teary-eyed from emotion, was consoled by my mother. The postpartum period can be exhausting. Witnessing this heartwarming scene, despite the earlier ordeal, a smile formed on my face as I thought about my new baby. After my parents informed me that my baby was undergoing some tests and would soon return to the room, I noticed Amber's absence. My mother, sensing my unspoken question, explained that Amber had left a little earlier. Reflecting on the day's events, gratitude for Amber washed over me. I promised my parents that once discharged, I would make it a point to visit Amber and express my heartfelt thanks. Turning on my smartphone to update my friends about the birth, I was greeted by a barrage of missed calls, mostly from Samuel. The sheer number left me momentarily stunned, but feeling detached from any expectation of reconciliation, I dismissed the notifications without a second thought. Soon, one of my friends arrived at the hospital to congratulate me. As she shared her genuine wishes, I opened up about the recent distressing incidents with Samuel. She listened intently, her shock and anger palpable. Half jokingly, she mentioned she'd like to punish him a bit for his actions, but quickly reiterated that my health and rest were of utmost importance. After a comforting chat, she left, and I turned to face my parents, who had been briefed by Amber about everything. "What are you planning to do next?" they asked, concern etched on their faces. I shared my thoughts about potentially divorcing Samuel, and to my relief, they supported my decision. In preparation for my discharge, they had already arranged a room for me at their home, offering a safe and supportive space. Samuel had attempted to visit the hospital, but, having instructed the staff that I did not wish to see him, he was not allowed entry. The next day, Amber visited my hospital room, bearing a fruit basket. "Amber, you came!" I exclaimed, delighted by her presence. "You seem to be recovering well, but remember not to overexert yourself. Postpartum fatigue can be quite profound," she advised gently. Taking the fruit basket from her, I expressed my deep gratitude. "Thank you so much, Amber. I don't know what I would have done without you." I bowed deeply in appreciation. Amber chuckled softly. "What's most important is that both you and the baby are healthy. I just wanted to lend a hand." As our conversation continued, Amber shared that she had discussed the incident with her husband, who was quite furious about the situation. From her words, I could infer Samuel's current predicament. "Amber, I'm truly sorry for dragging you into this mess," I admitted, feeling a twinge of guilt. "Don't worry," she reassured me, her tone suddenly stern, revealing a side of her I hadn't seen before. "Remember, it's thanks to my husband that Samuel has his job at the company." This was news to me. Amber was the wife of the CEO at the company where Samuel worked. When we first moved to this residential area, I had no idea about this connection. However, as we frequently bumped into each other at local stores and occasionally shared tea, our relationship grew. It was during these casual meetups that I learned about her husband's significant role at the company. My husband Samuel was entirely unaware of Amber's significant connection to his workplace. This was mainly because he hadn't joined me for the initial neighborhood introductions and generally showed little interest in mingling with our neighbors. Amber had previously confided in me, "I don't want to cause any trouble, so please don't tell your husband about this." I had respected her request, knowing she didn't want to stir any issues. Despite her reservations, Amber had been a tremendous support, especially given my pregnancy and Samuel's unreasonable behavior. She had often hinted at speaking to her husband about my situation, but I always declined, not wanting to complicate her life. However, with the recent events, it seemed even Amber had reached her limit. "Amber, I really can't thank you enough for everything," I said, overwhelmed by her support. Her firm stance made me realize how fortunate I was to have her in my corner. As I teared up, Amber gave me a comforting smile. "Helen, you're a dear friend to me. I can't just stand by and watch when something like this happens to a friend." Despite my husband's incessant messages, which I now chose to ignore, our conversation was filled with heartfelt smiles. As I prepared to leave the hospital, my close friend visited, handing me her smartphone. "I want you to see this," she said, showing me a post that had gone viral on social media. It was about Samuel's recent actions. My friend, who had a substantial social media following, explained that one of her followers had captured the scene where Samuel yelled at me and forced me out of the car. To protect my privacy, my face was blurred in the video, which she had permitted to be shared online. The video had spread rapidly, and now details about Samuel and even his company were being publicly scrutinized. "My husband is now facing a barrage of criticism online," I told Amber, stunned by the scale of the fallout. My friend smiled slightly. "Well, they brought it upon themselves, didn't they?" Indeed, Samuel's choices led to this situation, and now even his parents were being criticized online as the story spread through our community. Just then, my phone rang. It was a call from my mother-in-law. My friend glanced at the screen, suggesting mischievously, "Why don't you pick up and give her a piece of your mind?" But I was so drained by the entire ordeal that I felt no desire to engage further and decided to ignore it. Soon, my missed calls log was filled with names from Samuel's side of the family. As my discharge date approached, I grew anxious about potentially encountering my husband or his parents lurking outside the hospital. My parents, sensing my distress, reassured me, "You have nothing to worry about." This assurance was comforting, especially as we prepared to leave the hospital with my belongings. My focus now was on starting anew, prioritizing the safety and well-being of my baby and myself, free from the turmoil that had overshadowed recent days. As I prepared to leave the hospital with my parents, a sudden commotion erupted. I heard my husband's voice calling out my name, "Helen!" followed by the loud protests of my in-laws. Just then, a group of men in black suits quickly formed a protective barrier around me. One of the men gently opened the car door for me and assured me, "Don't worry, we're here on Sir's request to protect you." It appeared that my parents had anticipated this situation, as my mom, with a reassuring smile, said, "Didn't I tell you there's nothing to worry about?" Her words brought me a deep sense of relief, and I smoothly slid into the car. From the corner of my eye, I saw that my husband and his parents, overwhelmed by the presence of the bodyguards, were unable to come any closer. The overwhelming gratitude I felt for Amber, who had orchestrated this protection, filled my heart. I can't find the words to express how grateful I am for Amber's support. I shared with my parents, who agreed that we needed to find a way to show our appreciation. As my new life began away from the turmoil, the attempts by my husband and in-laws to contact me persisted. I sent them the divorce papers, but they showed no signs of accepting the situation. One day, my in-laws called our house and my father answered. They boldly claimed that since I was part of their family, I should not complain regardless of how I was treated. My father, angered by their audacity, retorted sharply, prompting them to hang up abruptly. After discussing it with my parents, we decided that seeking professional legal help was necessary. Fortunately, my father knew a lawyer who, upon hearing our circumstances, graciously offered his assistance. I briefed the lawyer about the circulating video on social media and the events leading up to it. When the lawyer contacted my husband, he was initially surprised and then defiant. "We'll solve our marital issues ourselves. We don't need a lawyer," he argued in a dismissive tone. However, the lawyer, with a calm demeanor, responded, "I'm acting upon Helen's request. Any future communication should be directed to me, It's up to Helen, my client, to decide whether or not she wants to involve a lawyer. Stunned by the lawyer's firm stance, my husband was initially unwilling to proceed with the divorce. However, the mention of mediation and the possibility of a court case seemed to unsettle him. I have no interest in the child and have no intention of seeing them in the future, so I don't see why I should pay child support, he stated irrationally regarding the divorce terms. As for property distribution, I did nothing wrong, he claimed. The lawyer, ever professional, explained the legal implications clearly, but my husband remained unconvinced. In that case, it seems we'll meet in court, the lawyer suggested. Hearing this, my in-laws who had been eavesdropping appeared to panic and immediately conceded to the terms. Informed of this development by the lawyer, I was stunned by the turn of events and the reality of having ever been connected to such a man. Throughout this time, I kept in touch with Amber. When I relayed the latest updates, she responded playfully, indicating her continued support and relief at my newfound independence. Feeling overwhelmed by everything that had transpired, Amber playfully suggested, "How about seizing your ex-husband's retirement pay? Garnishment is one way, right?" Her astuteness caught me off guard, but it also brought a faint smile to my face amidst the chaos. Sometime later, I was contacted by the lawyer who informed me that my husband wanted to apologize in person and sought a satisfactory conclusion. Given the circumstances, I agreed to a conversation over the phone, but only under the lawyer's supervision. The scheduled day for the call came, and I was flanked by my supportive parents and the steadfast lawyer. From the other end of the line, my husband's voice came through. "Finally, you answer. Apologize now, and I'll forgive you. Come back home. Let's be a couple again. The house is a mess. I might lose my job, and everyone's looking at me coldly. All of this is your fault, so take responsibility." He bombarded me with accusations, but steadied by the calm presence of my lawyer and parents, I chose my response carefully. When he snapped, "See, you can't even reply properly, truly a woman with no redeeming qualities," I responded calmly, "Just so you know, this conversation is being recorded. I'll keep it as evidence. Goodbye." His tone shifted immediately. "Wait, you recorded this? That's not fair. I was joking. I'm sorry I can't live without you. Let's start over. We truly loved each other, right? I promise I'll try harder from now on." After hearing his desperate plea, I immediately hung up. Handing the recording to the lawyer, I asked, "Can you utilize this audio as evidence?" Shaking his head in disbelief, the lawyer remarked, "He truly is an incorrigible man." My parents, sharing in my sentiments, were resolute in their decision to sever ties with him completely. Witnessing his behavior only deepened their astonishment and disappointment more than anger. Amidst the turmoil, I realized there was a slight part of me that was enjoying the unraveling drama, a little devilish side that had emerged. The divorce proceedings with my husband concluded smoothly. Both the property distribution and child support agreements were settled without any issues, and the chaos began to subside. Thanks to the information Amber shared with her husband, the president of my ex-husband's company, Samuel, was promptly disciplined. Known for his family-oriented values, the president believed that an employee who couldn't protect his own family could not be trusted by the company. Consequently, Samuel lost his job, couldn't make housing loan payments, and had to return to his parents' home. His reputation, already tarnished by the viral video, left him struggling to find stable employment, barely making ends meet with short-term part-time jobs. Rumors also spread about his parents, and according to reports from friends in the neighborhood, they seemed to live in perpetual unease. The societal judgment they faced was surprisingly harsher than any legal repercussions. With most matters settled and my health recovering, my parents, my baby, and I visited Amber's home to express our gratitude. Amber and her husband doted on my baby, making us feel warm and welcomed. After that visit, Amber and my mother became close friends, and similarly, Amber's husband and my father got along very well. Our families grew close, and to everyone's surprise, my relationship with Amber and her husband's son, who was around my age, began to develop in an unexpected direction. A few years later, the idea that I might become part of Amber's family was something no one could have predicted. Life truly is full of unexpected turns.